Captain Zara Thorne's escape pod had been drifting for 3 days when the Kelhari patrol vessel found her. The sleek crystalline ship materialized from the void like a jewel catching starlight, its bioluminescent hull pulsing with gentle blues and greens. Zara's oxygen was running low, her water recycler had failed, and her lips were cracked from dehydration. The Kelhari who greeted her aboard their vessel was tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like water itself. Elder Nith moved with fluid motions, their large dark eyes reflecting depths that seemed older than stars. "Human vessel detected in distress," Nith said, their voice carrying the musical quality of flowing streams. "We offer sanctuary." Zara nodded gratefully, her throat too dry to speak properly. Nith gestured toward a crystalline chamber filled with the most beautiful water Zara had ever seen, clear as diamond, glowing faintly with an inner light. "Please," Nith offered, extending a vessel carved from what looked like living coral. "Our sacred waters will restore you." As Zara drank, the liquid seemed to sing through her body, healing and revitalizing in ways that defied explanation. She felt her strength return, her mind clear. "Thank you," she whispered. "This is incredible." Nith's expression grew melancholy. "Treasure it, human friend. Each drop is precious beyond measure. Our homeworld, Aquinas, suffers from the great drought. What you drink now represents the rationed water for 10 of our people for 1 cycle." Zara's eyes widened. "But you gave it to me anyway?" "The first law of our people. No being shall thirst in our presence when we have water to share, even if it means we ourselves go without." Nith's bioluminescent patterns dimmed with sorrow. "Our oceans have been failing for generations. The ancient aquifers run dry. Soon even our sacred waters will be gone." Over the next several hours, as the Kelhari ship carried her toward the nearest human outpost, Zara learned of their plight. The Kelhari were an ancient aquatic species whose entire civilization was built around water, not just as sustenance, but as art, religion, and technology. Their cities were living coral reefs, their technology biohydraulic, their culture centered on the sacred flow of water through all things. But their star was aging, growing hotter. Their ice caps had melted centuries ago, their rain cycles had failed, and now even their deep ocean reserves were evaporating faster than their failing weather control systems could replenish them. They faced extinction within a generation. "We have sent envoys to every species in this sector," Nith explained as they approached the human station. "The Vorthan offered to trade weapons for our remaining water. The Nexari suggested we abandon our world and become their servant class. The hegemony simply ignored our pleas. Their patterns flickered with bitter resignation. Each contact brings the same result: exploitation or indifference." When they reached Kepler Station, Zara thanked her rescuers and watched their ship depart into the void. But she couldn't forget Nith's kindness or the weight of that precious water they had shared without hesitation. Within hours of her debriefing, Zara was on a priority channel to Earth. Within days, she was standing before the United Earth Assembly, telling the story of the Kelhari's sacrifice and their dying world. "They gave me their sacred water," she told the assembled representatives, "knowing they might never see its like again. They saved my life when they had every reason to preserve what little they had left." The vote was unanimous. Dr. Elena Vasquez led the first terraforming fleet that arrived at Aquinas 3 months later. The human ships came not as conquerors or traitors, but as friends bearing gifts that would have seemed impossible to any species but humanity. Atmospheric processors that could extract moisture from space dust, quantum desalination plants that could purify water from any source, weather control satellites that could coax rain from the thinnest clouds. But the humans brought more than technology. They brought something that had puzzled alien anthropologists for decades: humanity's inexplicable drive to help others, even at great cost to themselves. The Kelhari watched in amazement as human engineers worked alongside their bioarchitects, merging human technology with Kelhari understanding of water's sacred patterns. Fusion-powered rainmakers brought storms to lands that hadn't seen precipitation in centuries. Quantum collectors harvested water molecules from the very vacuum of space. Atmospheric terraformers slowly began to heal Aquinas' wounded sky. Elder Nith found Dr. Vasquez working knee-deep in one of the newly restored tide pools, her instruments forgotten as she watched Kelhari younglings play in water that sang with renewed life. "Why?" Nith asked simply. "Your species gains nothing from this expenditure. The resources you've committed could have founded 10 human colonies. Elena looked up, her eyes reflecting the dancing patterns of the restored waters. Captain Thorne told us what you did for her, how you shared your sacred water when it might have been the last water your people ever saw. She smiled, rising from the pool. We humans have a saying, what goes around comes around. But really, it's simpler than that. She gestured to the Kelhari children, their bioluminescent patterns bright with joy as they swam in pools that had been barren for generations. You showed kindness to one of ours when she was dying in the dark. That kindness deserves kindness in return, magnified 1,000-fold. Ninth's patterns shimmered with confusion. But surely there must be some agreement, some trade arrangement. The only thing we want, Elena said, is to know that when the next stranded traveler finds themselves alone in the dark, there will still be Kelhari ships out there, carrying sacred water and the willingness to share it with someone in need. Years later, when the restored oceans of Aquanus sparkled under their rejuvenated sun, the Kelhari would speak of the humans as the species that understood the true nature of water, that it was meant to flow, to be shared, to give life wherever it touched, and in the deep space routes where travelers might find themselves stranded and alone. It became known that if you were very lucky, you might encounter a Kelhari vessel, where beings who understood the sacred nature of kindness would offer you water that could save your life. But if you were even luckier, you might find yourself rescued by humans, the species that had learned from the Kelhari that some things were more precious than water itself, the willingness to share it with a stranger who was dying of thirst.